Hey, friends. I am Dr. Patrice Buckner Jackson, but you can call me PBJ. Welcome to another episode of Heart Work with PBJ, where we are disrupting cycles of burnout and compassion fatigue for people who do their work from the heart. This is your place to come to be refreshed. Listen, friends, I got a tough lesson to tell you about today, but before I do that, I want to encourage you. Would you subscribe, thumbs up, like, comment wherever you listen or watch this podcast? If you will respond to the podcast in those ways, it will help us get this message out to more people. So if you are a loyal listener and you know that this podcast is a blessing to you, will you help us be a blessing to other people just by clicking the thumbs up, the subscribe, make a comment, give us a rating, so that we know that you're listening. All right, y'all, let's get into this episode. All right, friends. So, if I learn a lesson, I'm going to come and share it with you, because I feel like that's what I'm called to do. But also, I don't want you to have to learn some things the hard way, as I am learning them. So, I want to come to you today and just share a recent lesson that I learned, and I hope that it will be a blessing to you. So, as you know, over the last couple of months, I've been sharing the Heart Work Academy with you, and that the doors are pending to be open, and all of the things that we're going to do in this 8-week program. In the past, the Heart Work Academy was a monthly membership, and I learned so much in that process. But I also learned that it wasn't meant to be a membership. I learned that people who are burnt out need relief right now. They can't wait for once a month meetings. So I learned so much, but we closed that membership and we processed out with all of those members. And we went to an 8-week model, 8 straight weeks of coaching and community and modules and learning. Went through the process of hiring a staff, invested funds to advertise and set everything up, got everything set up in our course platform, and all the videos, all the marketing you've seen, everything was ready, and even got a staff to join me to help with all of this. So there's been so much time and all kinds of investment into this. Well, if I'm honest, a couple weeks ago, I started feeling overwhelmed. And remember, I told you all of us have a tell, TELL. And my tail started coming up. When I feel overwhelmed, sometimes I literally feel like I can't breathe, like I'm in water and I'm barely holding my nose up above the water line, and I can feel myself taking shallow breaths. And the more I thought about what I had coming up over the next few weeks, the more overwhelmed I felt. And it's all good things. I got invited to be a coach in a program that was so impactful for me. And then, I got some speaking engagements going on, and a long-term service to a university that I'm still doing, and a ministry that my husband and I are assisting our church with. And there's a lot of good things going on. And that is the thing about burnout and overwhelm. Most of the time, it's not bad things. It's about helping others. It's impactful things, but we just take on too much of it all at the same time. You can do all the things, you just can't do it all at the same time. So I began to feel overwhelmed as I thought about all of the things that I had coming up, and considering how in the world I was going to carry it all. And it really came to a head for me as I was sitting down writing out my wall calendar, because I keep everything in my phone. I got a scheduler, that kind of thing, but I still write it out on my calendar because it just holds me accountable. Putting that pen to paper just really helps me see. And y'all, I'm just going to tell all the business today. When you look at my calendar for March, it looks like I did nothing because I didn't write it out. I didn't write it out in March, and I was all over the place. I was doing many things, but I never wrote it out. I never wrote it out. So I was determined I was going to get back to my calendaring. So I sat down and wrote out April, May, June. And the more I looked at it, the more I could feel my breath getting shallow, like I couldn't breathe. And I felt in my spirit, I heard in my spirit, you need to pray for a way of escape. And there's a scripture that says there's no temptation that will overcome you, but God will always give you a way of escape. So in my spirit, I heard you need to pray for a way of escape. And I'll be honest, I hesitated. I didn't want to do that because I knew when I prayed that prayer, I was going to have to give up something. And all the things I was doing, I wanted to do, and I was excited about, and I didn't want to let go of any of it. And if I'm honest, I also found myself thinking about withholding from other people. So I didn't write my calendar in March, not because of this, but I know my husband looks at the calendar. And he may not, I always tell him, you don't understand my work. He may not understand what I do, but he understands me. He understands me, and he knows he can pinpoint it. He knows when I'm getting overwhelmed. So I found myself not even wanting to tell him all the things that I had coming up in the next few months because I knew what he was going to say. And that withholding is also a tell for me. When I start to take on so much, I start to tell myself people don't understand, so I'm just going to keep it to myself. Let me tell you, isolation is a trap. It's a trick. So be careful. Be careful in the midst of all your things that you don't find yourself holding back from those who love you and who are you are accountable to. And I'm not saying you have to tell everybody, but there are some people in your life who love you enough to hold you accountable. And if you can't tell them what's going on, either they're not good accountability or you're withholding and you're not allowing yourself to be held accountable. So I'm writing this calendar, feeling overwhelmed, wrestling with how much to tell my husband or what's going on. And the truth of the matter is, I tell him everything. So if I can't tell him, it's a problem. So I decided, yeah, I'm going to pray this prayer. So I prayed and I said, God, if I've taken on anything that's outside of your will, show me a way of escape. Show me a way of escape. If you've assigned all of this to me, I know that you're going to empower me to do it. I have no doubt in my mind that you'll give me what I need to do it. But if I have done any of this in my own way, in my own will, show me a way of escape. Because at this point, I was telling myself, I can't quit any of this. I've obligated myself to this and obligated myself to that. And people are waiting on the Heart Work Academy. People are on the wait list. Like, I can't stop any of this. Like, all of this is in progress now. And it's way too late. But I've learned the hard way. I've learned the hard way that when the Spirit of God speaks, I got to do it, whatever it is. And that may come with consequences, but I got to accept that. So I prayed the prayer. I prayed the prayer. And later in the week, I was preparing to interview a person, a woman, for this podcast. You all will get that interview soon. But as I was preparing to interview her, I was listening to recent interviews she had with other people. And she started talking about how, people are pressuring her to do this in her business and do that in her business. But she also has a full-time corporate job. And she said, I'm not rushing to do anything. I'm just doing it at the pace of grace. Whatever God is telling me to do, that's what I'm going to do and nothing more. And she went on to say, we get ourselves to a point and we cry out like, God, help me. God's like, I'm going to help you, but I didn't tell you to get to this point. I didn't guide you here. I didn't give you instructions. You did that. You did that. And as she was speaking, I just began to weep. I began to weep because I knew what I had to do. In my spirit, it was pause the Heart Work Academy. And when I tell you, we've been working on this for months. It's April now. We started working on it hardcore since January. I've been working on it for a long time, but since January, we really started going after it and preparing for it and working with the team and doing all the things and preparing the videos. And I mean, it's beautiful. It's built, it's ready, it's beautiful. But I knew I knew in my heart that I was supposed to pause the Heart Work Academy. So I wrestled with it. And at that point, it was open. It was open to the wait list only. So early registration was open to the wait list only. But if I'm honest, nobody had registered. And I had sent out an email to say, hey, if you want to talk about it, schedule some time with me. And nobody had responded. And these were people that I told myself, I can't stop because they're waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting. I can't stop because they're waiting. But the truth is, if they were waiting, they didn't respond. So that was confirmation for me. And even at that point, I said, am I backing off because nobody? Because I never opened open registration, so it was only for specific people on the wait list. And I'm like, am I doing this because I'm afraid nobody's going to sign up, even when I open it wide? But it wasn't that, because the more I thought about putting a pause on it, the more peace I felt in my heart, the more peace I felt about the other things that I need to do. And not just peace, but thoughts started flooding to me about how I'm going to serve in this other community that I've been invited to serve in, and how I'm going to serve in these speeches that I have coming up, where I thought there was a blockage, or it felt like it was a blockage to my creativity. Once I made that decision, everything started to flow. And I can breathe. I can breathe. So, although I've been talking to you about the Heart Work Academy, I'm here to tell you that it's paused for now. I closed the registration. We're going to hold, and I don't know how long, I don't know when, but I know I'm going to listen, because here's the other thing. What I'm not going to do is coach you through burnout, and I'm burnout myself. And you may be saying, well, PBJ, you're the burnout expert. How do you get burnout? It's because how do you think I am the burnout expert? The thing that I'm called to give to the world is the very thing I wrestle with. And it is the truth in all situations. So I refuse. I refuse to serve you, to coach you in the midst of my own burnout, in the midst of my own overwhelm. I must practice what I preach. And I must be an example of how to serve from a place of freedom and not from a place of overwhelm. So we're pausing on the Heart Work Academy. I believe it will come. I do. I believe it will come. So many things have been done to prepare for you and to prepare for this academy. And I don't believe anything is wasted. So I believe it will come, and I'll let you know when. I'll let you know when. I think this is the main lesson that I learned through all of this. And I found myself sharing this with several people over the last few weeks, even before I realized it was a message for me. This walk of purpose is a step-by-step walk. One of the coaches in my life, Coach Jatia Jones, she always says, clarity comes in the doing. Clarity doesn't come in the thinking. Clarity comes in the doing. So you won't know until you take a step. In January, I took a step and brought on a team, took a step and did some videos, took a step and planned for marketing, took a step and started talking about it, took a step and did a Heart Work Live, took a step, and the more steps I took, the more clarity I gained about what I'm supposed to do right now. So I don't believe any of it was wasted. I believe that every step that I took was necessary for peace in my heart, for direction in my purpose and what I'm supposed to do. And I believe that your purpose as well is unveiled in steps. So don't be stuck in a corner of should I, shouldn't I. Take one step. And once you take that step, if you have peace, take another step. And once you take that step, if you have peace, take another step. But if you ever get to the point where you've lost that peace and you've lost that clarity, I encourage you to pause. I encourage you to stop and not be distracted by all the steps that you've taken, because nothing will be wasted. Nothing will be wasted. So, friends, keep walking with me. You're going to keep getting a podcast episode. In the next few weeks, I am going to introduce you to some phenomenal women. Oh, I can't wait for you to meet them. And all of them have transformational stories. So you hang in there with us. You keep walking with us, and we'll see what comes next. I'm excited about whatever it is, but I know it's going to be spirit led. I know it's going to be purpose focused, and I know it's going to transform your life. So, as always, you are powerful, you are significant, and you are loved. Thanks for walking with me, friends. Love always. PBJ.